you go to Northwestern, you're a theater major, you study Chekhov and Shakespeare and Greek tragedy, and then, 15 years later, you're known for a meme where you're screaming, "Let's go, lesbians, let's go," and running down the street. Hi, this is Billy Eichner, and this is a look back at all the moments that have shaped my career and my identity. This is Becoming Billy Eichner. Wow, that is a long time ago. Very flattering photo. This is a live show I did in New York, a live sketch variety comedy show that I wrote and hosted with my very dear friend in real life, who's also an actor, Robin Laura Taylor. I wrote this show for the two of us to do, like a late night talk show, like Letterman and Seth Meyers and Conan, but my version of that and on stage in New York, because no one was putting me on TV at the time. And I loved late night talk shows, I loved morning talk shows, and I thought that I could do my own subversive spin on that. I was openly gay on stage, and I talked about that, and we talked about gay sex and all these things that now are becoming very kind of part of the mainstream. But in 2003, when we started to do the show, was pretty eye-opening, even for a smart, sophisticated New York audience. Wow. This is a rare still photograph. I don't even know where you found this. This is the first TV job I ever had. The first real TV job I ever had. I'd been on some very obscure shows here and there that no one saw or has ever seen, but this was a pilot that Bravo put me in with Joan Rivers. It was called Joan Rivers Straight Talk, and they wanted to do a primetime version of The View, but instead of Barbara Walters and 4 different types of women, the idea was that it was Joan Rivers and 4 different types of gay men talking about topics in the news, and it would be prime time and dirty and fun. And at the time, Bravo was the only big network that would even have occasional gay men on the air in any sort of consistent fashion. I ended up being very close with Joan Rivers until she died. She was a real mentor, a complicated human being in some ways, but a really wonderful person, in addition to being, hilarious. What else can you say? It's Joan Rivers. Yep, Billy on the street. That's it. Oh, that's the lesbian lightning round.
Sir, for $1, who's sexier, Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera?
Britney Spears.
What do you think, lesbian?
Britney Spears.
I developed this persona on stage for Creation Nation. This guy who was really just irrationally, insanely worked up about pop culture in Hollywood, sometimes to the point where he was very, very angry. It's so annoying to talk about it in the third person, but it was a character. And then one day I said to my friend who was directing the show, what if I took this out onto the street and stopped people and made them deal with me, made them talk to me about the Oscars or whatever pop culture topic I wanted to ask them about. And that was the beginning of Billy on the Street. The original idea was, New Yorkers walk down the street, and even though there are hundreds of us, everyone has blinders on, everyone's acting like no one's else there. And I thought, well, I'm gonna satirize pop culture obsession by stopping New Yorkers in their tracks and forcing me to talk about, Kate Winslet's Emmy chances, or, whether we're all properly appreciating Uzo Aduba, or whatever it might be. The thing about Billy on the Street, for one reason or another, on one level it had a very gay sensibility, but on another level, it has that same shamelessness, some might say obnoxious edge to it that we've only historically associated with straight male comedians. And at the time, we didn't associate those qualities with gay men on TV who were often supposed to be very into fashion and wearing a cute little outfit and very two-dimensional and not particularly confident. If they were confident, it was a cartoonish version, a very superficial sitcom-y version of confident. Wasn't my plan necessarily, but I did end up kind of being a bridge between the gay world and the straight world comedically. I got to be on the final 2 seasons of Parks and Recreation, which was an honor.
Hi, I'm Donna.
Oh, that is the perfect name for you. I love it. Never change it.
Wasn't gonna.
It was a very love it or hate it sort of character. Craig, he was it was very much taken from my Billy on the Street persona, but I've learned since that the Billy on the Street persona works on the street in New York City, and that's his natural habitat. I edit those episodes. I have a lot of creative control over it, and I just know how to frame that persona. But it doesn't work as well when you put it in a more scripted, contrived environment, if that makes sense. It was such a different energy. That show is such a gentle, elegant show, especially by broadcast sitcom standards, and I came in all guns blazing. Every line they had in the script, my lines were all written in caps with 7 exclamation points. So some people loved it in terms of the fans, some people did not. I myself, looking back, I think there's sometimes it works and sometimes that it doesn't, but you live, you learn. A great show to be a part of, and I was really, really honored they asked me to be a part of it. Introducing Conan O'Brien to Grindr. You know, now everyone in the world knows about Grindr, and everyone's like, you know, every gay guy's naked on Instagram talking about thruples. But at this time, this was a very progressive segment for a straight male late night host to do, and it was their idea. They called me and they said, you know, we did this great segment where we put Conan on Tinder. They said, it was so popular, we want to do a different version where we put him on Grindr, and we thought you could help him. And we really did it. We put him on Grindr that night. We filmed this in real time. I helped him chat with guys.
This is unbelievable. Okay, I just sent it off. I like your airplane to be circumcised.
And we met a guy who didn't believe it was Conan, and I had to get on the phone and be like, hey, I'm gay. It really is Conan. And like, we put him on Grindr, and we want to come meet you. And we met him. We took a van, and we met him in the parking lot of Avon's supermarket in Burbank. Conan was really driving the van. They spray painted Liza Minnelli and Cher on the van. It was 2015, you know, they were trying. But it really is such a funny segment, and Conan fully commits to it, and there's no shame in it. It's not like making fun of gay people or, ew, I'm on Grindr. None of that. That's like one of the reasons I've always loved Conan. That's like, he's smart enough not to do that. I love Conan so much. Conan was the first major talk show to have me on as a guest. To this day is so supportive of me. Difficult people. I'm gonna ask out the next person that comes through that door. Well, the next gay man who comes through that door, who's hot. I love this show. It was created by my dear friend Julie Klausner. We really bonded when she wrote and produced on Billy on the Street, and we realized we had this great sensibility, this shared sensibility, that we had grown up obsessing about the same types of pop culture minutia and certain obscure actors or Broadway shows that the rest of the world didn't necessarily obsess over, and she created this show for us. Amy Poehler executive produced it, and I love this show. And I wish it had lasted a bit longer. I think Hulu jumped the gun on this one. Numerically, Difficult People was not that long ago, but culturally, especially in terms of an honest representation of LGBTQ people and sexuality, it was a few years ahead of its time. It's an incredibly inclusive show. There were so many LGBTQ people on Difficult People. You know, the guest stars, the main stars. I had a different boyfriend in every episode. And we were having sex, and there were sex issues, and she had sex issues with her boyfriend, written from a female perspective that you don't often see. The confidence Difficult People had to tell a story that was that queer-friendly and female-centric was a few years ahead of its time in terms of that being considered something that wasn't niche. People come up to me all the time and talk about how much they love Difficult People. So maybe people have discovered it since. It's a really funny show. The Lion King.
Hakuna Matata.
What?
A movie that got all kinds of reactions and yet made over $1 billion. And that's the strange world of franchise films that we live in. I had a blast. It was so much fun. It was such a spectacle. Me and Seth Rogen played Timon and Pumbaa. I play Timon, he plays Pumbaa, and we just had a great time. I mean, Beyonce's in it. You know, how often does that happen? I'm on a song with Beyonce. It's very strange. I mean, I did not see that coming. It was thrilling, and also the release of it was so huge, and we had this royal premiere in London with like Elton John and Beyonce and Jay-Z and Harry and Meghan, and the whole thing was so insane. And then I left the premiere and went to gay bars, because what else was I gonna do after that premiere? Impeachment American Crime Story.
Joan's suit move along.
Oh, I love that. Well, that's what I do. I move stories along.
I really love being a part of this. I played Matt Drudge, a really complicated guy, but a very influential guy. And just to be in this ensemble of actors with Sarah Paulson and Beanie Feldstein and Clive Owen and Edie Falco and Kobe Smulders, who plays Ann Coulter, it's really well done. And it tells the story of this era from a perspective that we haven't seen before. And it was great. And Ryan Murphy really gives actors who don't ordinarily get a chance to show other sides to themselves because they're known for one certain thing, especially LGBTQ actors. He's really made it a priority to give us opportunities that we don't ordinarily get. And I love him. Bros! Yeah, Bros. This is my movie.
Of course, lesbians get a month and we get a week.
I'm really prouder of it than anything I've ever done creatively. It's a big moment. It's the first gay rom-com ever made by a major studio. It's the first with an all openly LGBTQ plus cast, even in the straight roles. And we all know how rare that is. Most of the time, straight actors have gotten to play the best written, the most high-profile LGBTQ roles, and they win awards, and they use it to show people that they're serious actors. And it so rarely works in the reverse for us. So it really is thrilling that the whole cast is openly LGBTQ, and we come from all different corners of the community. I'm very proud of it, grateful that I got the opportunity, and also knew, because of all of those historical statistics, that we really needed to get this movie right. I told them from the beginning, as big of an opportunity as it is for me, I don't want to do it unless we can be honest and unless we can be authentic. We can't just make When Harry Met Sally and slip in two gay guys and have the story play out the same, because we all know as LGBTQ folks, that's not how it works most of the time. Love is love is love, but also not really. And I also wanted it to depict all the nuances and the different, very queer specific issues that we have when two men date each other in 2022. Some of those are very similar to issues straight people have in terms of dating and relationships and sex and dating apps and all that, and some are very different. Two men together is a different scenario, And I have rarely seen it depicted in a way that I felt reflected reality of what me and my friends go through. I wanted to make a movie about smart, funny, messed up, complicated gay adults, right? Who have sex, who fall in love, fall out of love, are still figuring it out even though they're 40. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. This has been Becoming with Billy Eichner.